This is what you actually have at the moment in Saudi Arabia. This is the new Get Ready. This is the version which is presently being used. It's not overtly grammar-based. In the contents page, it says grammar, but as you can see, it's done in a functional way. It's done through a context, it's done through one of the skills, and they are encouraged to pick up from what's in the course, the language that's being taught. There's no overt pronunciation teaching, but there's a huge amount of listening. The CD provides them with a huge quantity of listening materials. A lot of repetition and revision. Obviously, emphasis on communication. In this case, ask and answer. Okay, students are encouraged, obviously, to communicate amongst themselves, asking and answering. And then, obviously, the main emphasis of the course is on listening and speaking. And these are the components, what the teacher will have. You've seen some of the flashcards. These are some of the posters that are in from the course. So what I'd like you to do, think about your planning. Think about how you're going, or you would expect the teacher to plan the lesson, and also try and think about the dynamics that we saw before, and the sort of the changes in dynamics that it will be possible to create within a classroom using that lesson. So can you take 10 minutes now just to look at it and just to quickly note down a lesson plan? Will they need the flashcards? Will they need other materials? Will they need to prepare their students for the lesson by saying the lesson before, can everybody bring me a favourite object? So think about what how they're going to need to set up the lesson. What materials would you need for this? Would you use the flashcards?
The pupil will introduce himself to the next pupil. This pupil will introduce
What group dynamics could we include? Did you think about, or did we manage to get time to look at the possibility of changing? So with a lesson like this,
group work, teamwork.
How?
Group work.
Yeah.
We can make our pupils in a circle and start conversing with each other and introducing themselves to each other.
Well, what's the advantage here of doing pair work? Or what's the advantage, not necessarily with this lesson, but here, for example, of the pair work over the group work? And which phase would pair work be more appropriate, and which phase would the group work be more appropriate? I mean, if we're looking at this language, my name's Yasser, what's your name?
Pair work is much better than group work.
Okay. If the objective is...
We have a little number of pupils inside the class, pair work will be better.
Okay. But imagine that if I'm sitting here, I'm here, so my name's Jonathan.
No.
What's your name?
My name is Abdurrahman. What's yours?
My name's Jonathan. What's your name?
My name is Abdurrahman. What's yours?
My name's Jonathan. How long is that going to go on for? The pair work in that instance, for that, is going to last 5 seconds. Okay, but for this particular activity, what I'm interested to see is how we think about the use of changes in dynamics and the appropriacy for the language point that you're teaching. If we go back to this slide here, we're looking at my name's, what's your name? Which is most appropriate, which is most suitable, or is another class dynamic more appropriate?
I think that one is much
This one?
appropriate, yes.
Right, okay, and how would that work? This one, where you would have groups of students like that, how would it work?
No, they will ask each other pair work.
With the pair work, with that language, my name's Jonathan, what's your name? It's not going to take very long. So it's going to be quite difficult for you, the teacher. Okay, let's just do it now. Okay, in pairs, I would like you to introduce yourselves to each other. Go. Okay, okay. You finished, haven't you? And, and you're looking at each other.
But we can make also a chain drill.
Okay, this is what I'm getting at. You know, it's very easy to sort of say, okay, yeah, I'm just going to do some pair work. But pair work with something which is so limited. So, how would that work?
What's your name?
My name is Mr. Santo.
Ask him.
What does that
My
allow?
name is Muhammad. What's yours?
Okay, so perhaps I could say, okay, Yassine, can you raise your hand when you hear somebody do something or you're not happy with the pronunciation?
Hello, my name is Muhammad. What's your name?
My name is Masoud.
My name is Muhammad.
Lovely. Okay, stop. Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, but can you see how, you know, that actually, the change in dynamic, it means that we're all listening in, because, or you could split it into groups. This group checks for accuracy, fluency, pronunciation, whatever you want to concentrate on. And so these people are all listening because they'll get a point or a reward mark or whatever because they've put their hand up and corrected.
I think it will take a long day for making chain drill. Yeah.
A long time.
Yeah. We have more than 35 of these.
So you have to be eclectic, for example?
Just groups.
In order
Can we make it just small groups?
Groups of 5,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, I think, to get teachers to think about is it's not just pair work, it's not just group work, that there is a purpose to every activity, and you have to be very clear. Very, very quickly, just go over what the way the book is structured and the way it works. Get Ready, again, this is the old Get Ready, which is presently being used in grade 6. There are 60 lessons, 30 for each term. So there are 30 lessons in level A, the red book, 30 lessons in level B, the blue book. There are 4 lessons, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and then revision. And we've got that 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, revision. That's the way the lessons would work. Okay. Each lesson is between 45 to 60 minutes. That's the way it's been written. You know, those of you who have got 45 minutes have to go at a reasonable speed. And then it finishes with a picture dictionary. No distinct upper and lower case. A little bit more difficult, yeah. Yeah. Well, how do we do? Well, you know, you've seen the idea of the difficult with penmanship. Certainly there's an aspect which a lot of effort has been put into making sure that penmanship is a key part of the course. Characters right to left, so getting the directionality working. Processing of letters, words, vowels, the activities, a lot of the games obviously look at developing their ability to recognize images, the letters. Reading comprehension, we know, it can be problematic, but the systematic development of that. And then the literacy skills involving speed, but that comes perhaps later. We've got reading and writing from the first page. It's a question of getting the students accustomed to seeing the script, starting to associate the sound with the script as well. Tracing, moving, to copying, and then writing. So that also is present here. So we've got the tracing, then the copying, and then the writing free. Term 1, lowercase. Term 2, simple sentences, and starting to punctuate as well. And the workbook lessons generally are tracing. So that's grade 6. Okay, I think we need to do some exercises, something to liven us up, to wake us up a bit. Okay, you're all fluent English speakers. I have a question for you. How many words do you know in English? You haven't counted them?
We didn't.
That's a nice activity for the summer. No? Okay, on a serious note, you've got a vocabulary list here. What is, do you think, your passive knowledge of English? Things you recognise but don't necessarily use or wouldn't use in active language. Any idea what your passive knowledge might be? They say that Shakespeare, for example, and Dante, they say that they had an active vocabulary of about 40,000 words. If you think that they estimate that English has more than 1 million words, it makes you think, "Phew, that's a bit pathetic, isn't it?" But, you know, Shakespeare was unbelievable, as was indeed Dante. So, you know, if Dante and Shakespeare have active knowledge or active use of about 40,000 words, what's the average adult? Yeah, well, interesting. Not far off, actually. They say that it sort of ranges between 10 to 15,000. An educated first language user. How many words does a B2, is it recommended that B2, first certificate, how many words should they be able to use? This dictionary, for example, which is upper intermediate, good upper intermediate, this dictionary has star system. There are 2,500 words with 3 stars next to them. They are the most common words. Okay, so for example, let me give you an example of a word like that. Expect, expense, experience. These are 3-star words. Okay, words which are very, very common. You know, they put masses of text, spoken, written, into a computer, and they've found that experienced is one of the 2,500 most common words in English. Then there are another 2,500 words, 2 stars. Experienced is a 2-star word. So, you know, if you know experience, and then you know experience, you can change the form slightly, you can add a suffix, change whatever, your vocabulary increases. And there are 2,500 2-star words. And there are another 2,500 1-star words. And they recommend that first certificate students, B2 students, know those red star words, all of them. It leads us on to the idea of how are we going to make sure, these are the flashcards vocabulary lists. How are we going to make sure that our students, right from the beginning, actually learn these words? One thing that I would thoroughly recommend is a notebook. A notebook with at least 26 pages in it, hopefully more. And then you get your students to start by basically doing this. First page, they write the letter A. Or third page, they write the letter B, and so on. And they create their own little dictionary. Yeah? They have an A to Z. But I think for vocabulary, for systematic language learning and tools for language learning to make them more autonomous, to develop their ability to actually be a bit more proactive in their own learning, we need to have systems for making sure they're taking notes effectively. So a notebook from grade 5 maybe, end of grade 4, beginning of grade 5, a notebook for all of their vocabulary. Look at it. Look at it closely, carefully. Right, can you take a big piece of white paper and draw that image? How many circles? 3 circles. How many lines? Big enough to be able to write in it. I would always encourage students to take their time. Because the better it is, the prouder you are, the happier you are to then take it back and use it when you go back.
That's teamwork. Beautiful teamwork. And I didn't even ask for it. There's a natural teamwork.
17.
1 to 2.
Well, we're going to put you into groups of 3. So you 3, and we'll have 4, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to nominate or give you numbers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. What I would like number 1s to do is, when I say go, to stand up, read as much as they can, go back and tell their other team members what to write in the various boxes. Okay, just take a bit of information, go back, give it to them, go back. Just take, what's that word? Tell them what's in the centre. Child.
Yes.
The same organisation.
there are 8 words beginning with C. Connections, coherence, challenge, curiosity, care, community, and creativity. Because those are at the heart of creating an environment in which children can learn. And around, you will notice you have teacher, methodology, materials, education and cultural context, curriculum, and evaluation. The first activity we did to copy, to write down the words, it uses all 4 skills, as you said before, and it's the sort of thing which I think when we're looking at the planning stage, we also need to be aware of the types of the activities. There are activities that will get them on and up, we'll put some energy into them, and there will be activities that calm. And obviously it might also depend on other things which are beyond your control. The time of day of the lesson. You're going to need lessons, first thing in the morning. You probably won't need lessons to get them up and to get them moving because they're already fresh. Last period, 1 o'clock, I don't know when your last lesson is, you're going to need something which is going to be an upper. And activities where they're moving are perfect. Because when we're choosing the lessons and the activities that we do, we're going to have to think about whether we want to again bring them on and up or to calm them down. I'm now going to read 6 bullet points. This isn't a dictation as such. I'm just going to read them at normal speed. Bullet point number 1. Be natural and real. Number 2. Be relevant. Number 3. Allow for discovery and construction of meaning. Number 4. Support children's understanding through mime and gestures. And number 5. Encourage the use of language as a vehicle to do things with a real purpose. What do we get for the first one? What was the first one?
Be natural and real.
Perfect. Second one? We need to be relevant. They need to see the point of it. Can you change places? Why? Okay, number 3. Number 3. Ali.
Me?
Yeah.
Allow to discovery the construction.
And construction of meaning. Absolutely. Allow for discovery and construction of meaning. They need to be able to develop their own knowledge. They understand meaning through what we do. So, number 4.
Support students' understanding from gesture and miming.
Support students' understanding through gesture and miming. Last one.
Encourage the use of language as a vehicle to do things with a real purpose.
Encourage the use of language as a vehicle to do things with a real purpose. What's the purpose of a dictation like that?
Focus, concentration.
Focus on concentration. Absolutely. Yeah, why not? You really need to listen hard. What you need to do is just concentrate on getting the key words. And then it's a lovely activity to say, okay, you've got the key words. What about the structures? The word, you've got the key words. How are you going to hang those words together in a sentence? We've done context, so we've done the first C in our C wheel. We've now got connections. Okay? Again, I'm going to read you a sentence. I'm going to read it once, just to highlight what we did before. I'm going to read it once. I'm going to read it at normal speed. Just write down the key words. So, connections. We need to make connections to other areas of learning, for example, science and maths. So what did I say? We need. Okay, wonderful. To make connections to other areas of learning picking out, deciphering where one word ends, where another word begins, is a difficult thing to do. And people don't speak like that, do we? We don't speak like that. It's not natural. So we need to develop the ability to pick out the key words. But from that, you can then go backwards and say, right, now write the complete sentence. What I might do is actually say, use the words to create a sentence as they are, because then I'm looking at their ability to use the language knowledge they have to make another sentence. It may not be the same as that one. If it's grammatically correct, fine. And we're going to do another activity, and this activity is looking at pronunciation and writing. We've got 2 rows of people. So, Sana, do you want to come forward? Okay. So, exactly. You will have to whisper that sentence to the person next to you. Okay?
And he needs to write it
And
down?
then, no, he has to then whisper it to the next person, who has to whisper it to the next person,
the last one?
who has to whisper it to the next person, who then writes it down.
Writes it down.
Yeah, okay. So, to the child's real life experience. Okay, go. Okay, when you think you're ready, you can go back and say the next one to the person. It's a race. The first team to finish gets a prize. Okay, I'm sorry. Well, you have to remember the whole sentence, then pass it. Can't go back and forward. Remember the whole sentence, pass it on. No referring back. Once it's gone, left your lips, you can't say anything else. You have to pass all the information on to Yasin, and then he passes it. He has to remember it all. It's a memory game. Time flies by this group. It's just amazing. It's good. Unfortunately, if we had time, what I would then do is suggest that you get into a group and then you look at what has been written. Okay? And I would then ask for each group to produce a finished piece of paper, the finished article. So it would give you all a chance to look at the errors, maybe, spelling if there are any, grammar. Just review what you've done. Would give the people who started the possibility to make sure that if they can remember, because things will change. The language will be changed as it goes down the line.
What is the child has already known and what is he going to learn?
But you said between what the child already knows and what is to be learned.
Yes.
Similar. Same meaning.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
Good fun, isn't it? Okay. I think you can see, even from a very low level, my name's Jonathan. Yeah? Even from the right, no, don't worry. Don't worry. We'll stop there. Possibilities are endless. Okay? Obviously, from level grade 4, they're not going to be writing, my name's Jonathan, but they have to come forward and tell the teacher what's been said. Yeah? So there are lots of variants and there are lots of ways of developing. Anyway, if we're looking at connections, we need to make connections to other areas of learning, perhaps. You know, we're working with numbers. Why not see what they're doing else in other subjects? So between what the child already knows and what is to be learned, there needs to be a connection. We need to use what they know to develop what we're going to do then. And then between what is learnt and how it's learned. How are they going to learn that? How are they going to most effectively learn that? Right, it's 12 o'clock. Time for a break. How many activities have we done? What was the first activity? Just to recap, what was the first activity?
Dictation.
We did a writing activity, didn't we? What happened? What was the dynamic? What did you have to do? It was a group.
Memory skill.
Okay, we were looking at memory. Yeah. What skills were involved? Reading,
vocabulary,
writing,
vocabulary,
Listening.
and, wasn't it? All four were involved. Would you say that the first activity, which is sometimes called a running dictation, okay, would you say that the first activity was was a stirrer, something that stirred people maybe, or a calmer, a settler? You'd say it was up, a stirrer. Okay, what was the second activity? Yeah, speed dictation, it's called. Speed dictation. What were you looking at? What aspects were we looking at? What skills were we developing? Keywords, listening skills, absolutely your writing skills. The third activity? Whisper dictations. But again, we were looking at really all of the skills, weren't we? We were looking again at all of the skills. Would you say it was a stirrer or a settler? An up or a down? Stirrer. Stirrer, because there's also the aspect of the, it's about speed, it's about finishing first. So that's another aspect. Okay, we're going to do one more. Lip reading dictation. Pronunciation, sounds are physical. And if it's physical, it's visible. And that's a key thing for students to grasp right from the beginning. If I say, what sound does that? What does that say?
P.
Ma. It's not.
Ma.
It's a
Ma.
man. I'm going to say 4 words.
Don't go.
Coherence can be achieved. Okay, so coherence can be achieved. Next word. When. It's interesting. Your knowledge of the language is helping you. And immediately that's coming in. And it's interesting how... Okay, so coherence can be achieved when activities, doing. So, coherence can be achieved when activities provide reasons for doing things that children can understand. Good minute, reader. Understand, okay. There are a whole series of things which made it more complex, but in actual fact, that, I think, is a very, very useful task. Okay, obviously the concentration is on the teacher. Why not do it with the students? Very good. Goes back here.
Just we imagine the animals.
Okay, absolutely. Very good. Okay. So, we did something that was very difficult, because it was very difficult. However, you can do it, and it's a nice way of making sure that actually students are using their mouth appropriately and effectively to produce the sounds. So it's important to get the level and the balance of linguistic and cognitive challenge right for the children. If activities are too easy, children become bored and demotivated. If activities are too difficult, they can become anxious and disruptive. It should be present knowledge plus one step further. The importance of the level is key. Okay? Curiosity, it generates desire to learn, and to find out about things. We are naturally curious. That's why little boys get into so much trouble when they're young. Because you're curious, aren't you? You want to explore the world. Likewise, in the language classroom. People are curious. People want to know. If we get the right motivation, then we can change techniques, we can change activities, we can change the procedures to provide opportunities for them to be curious. We've looked at, first one, looking at context, making sure the context's right. Then we looked at connections. Then we looked at challenges, coherence, then challenge, then curiosity. Now we've got care. Children need to feel as though they're treated and cared about as individuals rather than as a group or to be controlled. Care in the classroom is key. Then we looked at developing the idea of perhaps community. Activities are shared experiences, whether we're doing the games here or whatever. They're experiences where each of them can have a role if you want to. We looked at this morning the different coloured spots, so that everybody has a role within the community. They can be encouraged to cooperate and do things together, project work, developing things like that. Finally, creativity. Allows hidden talents to emerge. Increases personal investment and ownership. Develops fluency and flexibility in thinking, and allows for humour and fun. Right, what have we got? In the pupils book, we've got pupils book and workbook here, an example of that. There are 10 units. This is the book for grade 4, term 1. The language that is covered in grades 4, 5 and 6 is the same as from the old books from grade 6 in 1 year. So what you have is it's much more gradual. Okay? It allows the students to develop. If you look through it, you've got the student's book first, 10 units, the workbook, and then at the back, the picture dictionary. Obviously, not all of the alphabet is covered in the first one. And the words, obviously, there's no words that begin with X. What I wanted to do is to plan a lesson. You know, just to come up and give a quick 5-minute presentation on how you would give this lesson. Which unit did you choose? Which lesson did you choose?
Lesson 4, I think.
You chose lesson
Page
4?
16.
Page 16.
Yes.
Okay.
Today we have a lesson about our classroom, or the objects inside our classroom. So we have many things we would like to know. At the end of this lesson, we'll be familiar with. I will introduce you these new vocabulary. This is a book. A book.
A book.
A book.
A book.
Very nice.
A book.
A book. This is a pen. What is it?
A pen.
Pen.
Together, all together?
A
pen.
Pen. Repeat after me. What is this?
What is this?
Again.
What is this?
Very good, very nice. Now, please hold these objects. If you have a pen, hold the pen. If you have the disc, hold the disc. If you have a book, hold it. And ask me this question. What is this?
What's this?
Ask your colleagues, Coralie, what is this?
This is a pen.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. You've had a chance to have a look at the book. Did you have a look at the workbook material as well? You'll notice that the first 5 units, so the first half of the first term in grade 4 looks at direction, tracing, and numbers. From lesson 6, we start with the alphabet. So it's going to be difficult for them to do any writing until they start in unit 6. That's lovely. Thank you very much.